into it are even more spectacular. They're not as big, but this line of falls on our left side, we're going to follow it up, are just incredible. And today we've had a day or so without rain, so the pools are getting back to their like nice little green color, which I love. Now when we are getting a ton of rain, the water will be kind of brown from stirred up mud. Still incredible because there's a ton of waterfalls flowing, but yeah, this is my favorite section right through here.
Oh man, oh man.
Something else, huh?
Doesn't stop.
Nope. So again, all of these waterfalls are fed from the water that's collected on the ridgeline of Kahili, and then kind of filtered all down through this upper bowl here. So it all feeds into these three major streams that then feed into the waterfall itself. Now within the bowl, we can see a lot of standing dead trees. These are ancient ohia trees, and unfortunately they were killed off in 1992 when the island was hit by Hurricane Iniki. Hurricane Iniki brought with it sustained winds of 145 miles an hour and gusts in excess of 225 miles an hour. Now, at that time, there's approximately 50,000 residents here, and that storm caused $3.6 billion in damages to property and infrastructure. That's billion with a B. Now, of course, that doesn't even begin to take into account the devastation that it caused to the forest here. So a lot of those trees that we were seeing back there were in the ballpark of about 200 years old. So it's going to be a very long time. It's been about 30 years, but it's going to be a very, very long time before the island is really able to recover. And we'll see evidence of that storm all over the island, but really the south side got hit the hardest. Now, as we continue westbound, we're going to be exiting Hanapepe Valley and entering into Olo Kelly Canyon. Now, that is kind of the official beginning of the west side of the island. So as we cross over this next set of ridges here, we're going to see a fairly marked transition in the landscape. So we're going from this very green, lush, rainforesty look to a landscape that's a bit drier. Now, it's not a desert by any stretch of the imagination, and it is our winter time, so it's fairly green, and it's about as green as it gets up here, but you'll still notice the transition as we move across here. So.
Oh man. Talk about dramatic.
Yep. I know. The rain or the clouds help too with that effect, doesn't it? All right, so this puts us into Olo Kelly Canyon.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. So as we move into Olo Kelly Canyon here, we can really start to see how these islands have been formed. So all these horizontal lines that we see in the mountainsides, those are exposed layers of lava rock. So the island chain that we think of is actually a single mountain range, which extends upward from the ocean floor and breaks the surface in several points that we think of as islands. So the whole Hawaiian island chain, the mountain range, however you want to think about it, has been created by a single hotspot or a point that sits below the tectonic plate and has been pushing magma up to the surface for millions of years. Over that time, the tectonic plate has been shifting westward. So instead of creating one giant volcanic mountainous island, the Hawaiian hotspot has created this mountain range. And so the same point that today is the active volcanoes on the Big Island, Kilauea, at one point was forming the island of Kauai. So Kauai is the oldest of the 8 major islands. It was formed through 3 distinct periods of volcanic activity. First period happened approximately 5 million years ago. That period of time created the west side of the island and the northwest coast. Now at that time it was just an even plain moving up towards the caldera, the volcano. Since then, that tectonic plate has shifted away, causing the volcanoes here to first go dormant and then extinct. And ever since then, water has been hard at work carving away at the landscape through rain, creating streams. Those streams create rivers. Those rivers create these valleys and canyons that we see today. Now, speaking of water, we can still kind of see the Waimea River flowing out into the ocean just directly to our left. So the Waimea River flows through the Waimea Canyon out into the Pacific Ocean in the town of Waimea. Now, in Waimea town, you can actually catch the Waimea Canyon Road, which will take you up along the rim of the canyon into the Waimea Canyon State Park, and then on into the Kokee State Park. Along the route, there are numerous lookouts, different points where you can stop and check out the canyon from different angles. Once you make it up into the Waimea Canyon, there are a ton of hiking trails that range from like a nice little loop trail through the woods that's basically flat to some pretty gnarly trails that head out onto some of the ridges of the Nepali coastline. You can check out the canyon itself, the Alaka Swamp, which is like the central inland highland areas of the island, as well as various areas within the Nepali coast as well. So now running into the main body of the Waimea Canyon are 3 spurs or ventricles. This first one we're going to check out is called Waialae. So at the back of Waialae here we can see this waterfall. Well, that's the Waialae stream, and over the time, over the years, this stream has carved out this whole section of the canyon.
Wow.
So here we can really get a sense of what water can do in shaping a landscape, you know, carving out the landscape. It's pretty incredible.
I'll say, oh man.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Now the Waialae stream is fed by the Alaka Swamp. Now the Alaka is, as I mentioned, the central inland, like higher elevation area of the island. So it is a high elevation swamp and is in fact the highest elevation swamp in the world. It is got an average elevation of 4,000 feet above sea level, and it acts as a bit of a savings account for the various streams and rivers, waterfalls around the island. So it captures a lot of that rain coming in off the ocean and then feeds into these various streams and rivers around the island. And it is pinched between the Waimea Canyon, we've got off to our left, the Nepali coastline, which is actually directly out ahead of us, we're just looking at the back side of it, and then Waialae, which is uphill to our right. So the Waialae crater backs itself right up to the Alaka Swamp, and it just works its way all uphill. So right now we're just about at 4,000 feet elevation, and it works itself up to about 5,200 feet.
Incredible.
So this middle spur or ventricle is Kauai, and this is the deepest of the 3. Just beyond Kauai is going to be Po'omau. And as we cross over Po'omau, we'll be coming around to check out Waipo Falls. So Waipo Falls is one of the prominent features within the canyon. So from a number of the different lookouts, you can see it pretty clearly. There's also a hiking trail that will take you to the top of it. The trail itself is called the Canyon Trail, and it is 1.8 miles long. So it's a there and back again trail, so round trip is about 3.6 miles. And it takes you from the rim of the canyon down to the top of this 3-section waterfall, comprised of an upper 20-foot section, a middle 100-foot section, and the lowest section is just over 400 feet tall.
Oh.
And we'll be seeing it in just a minute here. Just looking for other traffic. All right, so as we cross Po'omau, and if we can see the ridge line that's kind of shadowed with a hole in the rock just off to our 1 o'clock side here, just on the back side of it, we're going to have Waipo Falls come into view. All right, so Waipo Falls. Now the trail itself extends along this open ridgeline. We can see some folks out there hiking it this morning. So that's the tail end of the canyon trail. Yep, that's right here. Very, very popular hike to do. Yeah. Yep. So that's the tail end. There are a couple of lookouts. There's one right along the rim just in front of us here, and then one off to our right. Yep. Now, the farthest ridge that we can see there with a single tree sticking up out of it, that is where the main lookout for the canyon is. Now, the road continues far after that. However, from Waimea town, it'll take you about 20 minutes to get there. From Waipoua, about 45 minutes. And if you're coming from Princeville, depending on the time of day and the day of the week, about 2 hours.
Oh, look. Incredible. Oh man, that's fun.
I know, I got a rough job, but you know, somebody's got to do it.
I know, I've been thinking about that.
Yeah. So just ahead of us, this white globe sticking out on the ridge line here. This is Air National Guard Center. Now, NASA has some stations up here. That's what some of these radar dishes are. And just to the right of this large white globe is the first of 2 lookouts for the Kalalau Valley. Now, the first one is one of the most iconic views of Kalalau, or even the state of Hawaii, second maybe only to Diamond Head. And then the second of the 2 is also the trailhead for the Alaka Swamp Trail, or the, let's see, where are we? All right, so directly in front of us, we can see this parking lot. That is the second of the 2 lookouts, and that is the trailhead for the Pihea Trail and the Alaka Swamp Trail. So 3.8 miles out will take you to the top of Wainiha Valley. Amazing views if it's clear. It's usually not. On our left, Kalalau Valley.
Oh. And
All right, welcome to the Nepali coast. Now, we're just flying out over Kalalau Valley. Directly down to our left is Kalalau Beach. And we're going to come offshore and kind of come around so that we can look at the whole coastline here. Now, while we are out here over the ocean, keep an eye out for whales. Humpback whales make an annual migration from Alaska down here to the waters of Hawaii every year to birth their calves and nurse their young throughout the winter months. So on a day like today, they're pretty easy to spot since there's no white caps or anything. You get just like a puff of seawater coming up there when they breach. All right, coming around here.